Yep, I'm filming from the other side of the bench. Sun's just come out, had lots of heavy rain. I'm four right in the colour grid, 3 down in darkness, which seems to be ideal at this time of the year. So may have to crank it across to 5 or 6, when we have sunlight later on in the year, and equivalent down in darkness. We've had a lot of rain. Basically, we've had our late June into July rain now in mid-August, basically. So it's 6 to 7 weeks later than it should be. The whole rain events have been shifted, and I don't think we're going to get any real GLID recruitment this year. If they germinate now, it's just too late. They've only got, we go into the dry at the 3rd week of October, and they've got to have grown up to a 50-cent piece size and put up a flower stalk and set seed and drop their seed by then. But there's no way I don't think they can do that they'll just be very small plants with a single flower stalk with 1, 2 or 3 seed caps on there, if at all possible, in 2 months. No way otherwise, I don't think so. Anyway, I'm just saying, so basically another wiped off year, I think, with GLID recruitment. We're just waiting to get out of the this millennial drought that started in 1999. It's been going on for 19 years, almost 20 years now. And normally we have like 10 years of dry, 10 years of wet, and in between, the middle of that, you get your, in between the 10 years of wet, you get some wetter years in the middle, and in between your 10 years of dry, you get dry years, and then it flips back. But we've had almost 20 years of dry years, so whether it's trying to flip back now and we're going to get 20 wetter years, and therefore within those 20 wetter years we'll have some really wet years, and that will be the time to be travelling to southern Abbott Land across to Western Australia. I don't know, but maybe you want to think about that and book your plane tickets. But anyway, I'm just setting up another one. It looks like I'm getting better and better, and I think I've worked out what the problem is, because if you can see here, look at that cape, it's almost going yellow there. But this one here, which is these are white capes, don't forget, it's starting to get a bit of colour on it. So you're getting colour on a white cape, and you've got a white cape going yellow. So I think I've sorted out what the problem is. So this one, if we're correct, should be better, even better than that one. Anyway, so I put the usual thing. You don't have to use the normal paraffin candles. You can use these tea lights, but you want the unscented ones. You take the aluminium backing coasters off the bottom of them, pull out the wick, and just cut them with a pair of shears sort of thing. Very easy, very simple. Even a child can do it. So very simple. Even Tom Lehrer knew math. So I just line that, so when you put your material in here, it doesn't pull the stuff away from the sides, because once you get like a crinkle in the toweling, that can cause problems with the weight, and it can actually tear the towel in, and then you can have all your sand drop through the bottom sort of thing, if it's not, large grain size sand. As I said, there's a difference between that grain size and this one, which is the original play pit sand sort of grain size. That holds twice as much surfactant per 10 litre bucket as that does. So I'll measure the grain size, and we'll be able to work the difference out, and I'll be able to take those measurements with me to WA sort of thing. And you can see starting to make growth here. They're all starting to make growth now. So obviously wetter is better if you can keep all the other problems at bay. So even that one. Oh, and that thing, this sort of, I was trying to think of, I couldn't say it on the last video. I was getting a bit, I don't know, hepped up or something. That sort of look on there, it's like the figure 8 twisting you get on a really well grown cape. And the really well grown cape will do that sort of figure 8 twist sort of thing, and it will usually have nice red stipulet buds if it's a normal cape. You probably heard me in the past mentioning that you can actually pink the tentacles of Bermanii and even white capes and things like that by using a bit of boron in a very small amount of boron in there. So there's probably a connection there somewhere. So you might want to think about that, between, you know, having nice nice red stipples you get on capes there, but you can get them a lot better than that, you know, probably twice as good as that really bright red. If you and that shows you've got really and when you have nice red stipples on there, it means you have nice big fat red roots developing. Because I've probably told this story before. Back in the 70s, we used to have capes. Capes regularly came with pencil size red roots on them, sort of thing. You know, the size of a standard HB pencil, sort of thing, and sometimes even fatter, up to some of those felt tip pen size thing. Regularly, you used to see those. And I don't know if part of the problem was the switch over from. You know, we got into this solar weave, solar grow sort of plastic sort of thing, you know. They said, oh, this was the bee's knees, you know, it doesn't wear out sort of thing, blah, blah, blah. I had experience with Visqueen plastic from WA. The actual company over in WA actually went out of business because they put so much plasticizer in their Visqueen plastic that no one ever came back to buy any new stuff because it never wore out, sort of thing. Basically, in a lifetime, you could have it for a lifetime. I even bought the roll that we bought a 100-metre roll over in WA, and we bought the remaining section of the 100-metre roll that I used for my greenhouse in WA at 33 Belvedere Way, Parkwood, which then became Linwood because Linwood got larger, and now it's called West Linwood because Linwood has become so large that the original area that was known as Parkwood is now known as West Linwood, sort of thing. So I'll be going back there later on in the year, so I might take a few photographs for you. And, you know, over the back fence where I used to jump, I was always a bit worried about that because you used to see little motes going off into the air, sort of thing, and, you know, they were all asbestos fences because, you know, WA and the Whitnums up there, the north part of the state, sort of thing. So, you know, it was just being you know, sent down, sort of thing. So hopefully it wasn't the deadly blue-grey sort of asbestos, but the fence was grey. So, you know, I used to breathe, every time I used to jump over the fence, I used to breathe in and hold my breath. But you see these motes go into the air, you know, these little specklets going in the air, so I just hope I didn't breathe any deeply into a lung. You know, because I used to go over there a couple of times, you know, at least twice a day, even longer. In school holidays, you'd be jumping over there, you know, 6, 7, 8 times a day. You'd be going one way or the other one. Always felt we should put in a little back fence gate sort of thing, you know, something you could just easily go through, and rather than having to climb. Because I built this sort of little platform cubby house thing. It was just like a platform, basically. It never got to be the cubby house. It just started off as a nice platform and never went any further than that. So yeah, so yeah, I do think that one there is an actual cape. I think coming off the route, I think that one there, we had a bit of rain splash, so yeah. And this one, yeah, getting interesting. As I said, it's this idea. I think if you look at people's soil over the past, you know, 30, 40, 50 years, I think they've been either grinding up the peat or they've been grinding up sphagnum and mixing it with their sand, so it gets really, it is actually anaerobic. It's just no one twigged or no one let on or something like that. So basically, all this, you know, plant, you know, of course we had all this thing about plants needing air and roots and oxygen, you know, oxygen and all that sort of thing, and people going off into using mesh pots and things like that. And I think, I don't know, it's just an error or it was a misdirection. Makes you wonder. I mean, how could one hobby have so many misdirections in it over its entire lifespan, sort of thing? So yeah. Anyway, so we'll see how we go. But as I said, that one's definitely better than that one, and this one should be better than that one now. And I think I've got the answer now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be getting cut down milk bottles, and I've noticed that these, if I cut them down to about there, they'll fit in there. So I'll basically do a Donny, I think, because yeah, they used to hate my my yogurt containers thing, but they never mentioned it wasn't that I was using the yogurt containers. Their beef was with the labels. Had they say, all you have to do is take the labels off and we'll just love your pots, they didn't do that, you know. So Donny comes along. Of course, when Donny came along, they had these plastic sleeve bottle labels, so he could just slide the sleeves off. But in my day, it was started off with, these sort of labels you'd have to scrub off. But at the time Donny came into my Carnivorous Plant Society, they had sleeves on. You could just slide them off. So he turns up at the meetings with no sleeves on. Not a word spoken about them, I thought, oh, right. But they never mentioned that the problem was not that I was using ice cream containers and yogurt containers. The problem was the labels on them. They never mentioned that to say, if you take the labels off, we won't have a problem with them. No, they just had to find a problem. But they were no good at teaching, No good, a teacher would identify the problem and explain the situation and say, however, if you take the labels off, we'll love your pots. Then we'll think, oh, it's the bee's knees, No, I think the reason I didn't want to tell you that, because once you started doing it and they had no complaints, the question is, why aren't they using it? I think that's the bigger question. They don't want to tell you the answer, because once you use the answer, then the onus goes back onto you to ask them, well, why aren't you doing taking these things and taking the labels off? If that's your only problem with them, yes. I don't think that was the problem. I just wanted an excuse to either put you down, rub you in it, and not even explain themselves either. So no good as teachers. Could never get a job in the teaching industry, I would say. So get a big fat 0, or say, a Z minus for teaching ability. Couldn't pass anything on to the next generation, I reckon. No possible way. Well, if you can't get to the situation, all you have to do is take the labels off, and that's the problem. Just yeah. I didn't even mention it when Donny came along or something. Anyway, so yeah. Anyway, so I'll be doing this and sending them up, and I think I don't think I'll look back. But as I said, what I'm going to do is cut them up to about there, and I'll put a whole load in here and just fill them up so you can probably barely see the extra containers in the thing. So if you want to pull one out, you can, but it'll just be like a slab, and of course it'll be all saturated like this, saturated like that sort of thing, anaerobic soil sort of thing, and I'll just pot a plant in each one, and we'll see how we go. And I don't think we're going to look back, fellas. I don't think we're going to look back. I think we've solved, it's almost been a 50-year struggle to knot the corners of the hobby and work out what's going on, and see what the plant, and where they grow, why they grow, and how the plants how they're adapted, so on and so forth. I said that they're more like aquatic plants growing in anaerobic soil, so on and so forth. There's a lot more to it, of course. And so we learned there are even major important structural differences between grain size. I said that one, if I had a bucket of this, which is I do over there, that one there holds twice as much liquid surfactant, water, what do you want to call it, compared to that. So that's got half of that, which means it's got half as much heat capacity, because water is very good, very good at conducting heat, and also maintaining heat, and blah blah blah, so on. All the things to do with water, of course. The universal solvent, as opposed to the universal surfactant, which is, if you study sugarcane and things like that, you understand why grasses in general. What's the Well, they say it's lichen. What else do they say? It's chitin, the most universal polymer on the planet. Cellulose and chitin and so on and so forth. And they talk about lichens and what's the most mosses and things like that. Blah blah blah, and yeah, so that's why I call the universal surfactant. I'm trying to get you to think, basically, but I don't think too many do. But anyway, I think you understand what I mean now. Anyway, when you look into these grasslands, in quotes, you can understand why I'm talking about the universal surfactant. Okay. So, glucose and sucrose, the two most abundant and major sugars. And I mean, most of the things, like root exudates, you can get up to 23 root exudate, but the main one, of course, is sucrose, and the secondary one is glucose. you know, because you've got glycophytes that manufacture glucose as opposed to sucrose, and many of the glucose ones, of course, are associated with oxalic acid in the leaves. Another big hint there, you know, rhubarb, gunnera, all the associates, and so on and forth. Anyway, so I'll do these sort of things and set these things up and do milk bottles and things. So basically I'm going back down the Donny track, I think, backtracking down the Donny track, and hopefully won't get stuck where he got stuck, and carry on further forward sort of thing. So I don't think he actually got stuck. I think he got held there by other people, which is what I'm a bit peeved about. You know, he was going really, really, really well, and suddenly they sort of blocked his way, I think. So not too happy about that. But anyway, these things happen while you're working on the fly trap, I suppose. But I really do like the colour one. This one, if I've got spot colour. See how dark green that is? It's one of these composites, and of course that will, this way one glows a magenta orange under